This is amazing. Daniel Negreanu joining after the whistle. And so I've never seen Craig so giddy in my life. I've known him way too long, but he was just like super excited. Obviously, I'm excited too to have you on, but I mean, I did not know that he was so excited to have you on. And he's a big poker fan. Craig's a big poker fan.
Oh, man, I'm going to tell you, I love watching poker more than any sport. I'm going to tell you, I love watching After Dark. I love watching the World Series. I love watching all of it. I mean, and obviously Canadian boy. Well, you got two Canadians on the pod here with you. So,
dude, this happens now. We're doing the Zoom thing, whatever. Shut up, dog. It worked. You hear him barking. There's a guy fixing the pool in the backyard, and I'm going to smack him. No, I won't do that. I love it. Hey, shut! What did I tell you? Did I say shut up? I'm pretty sure I said shut up. Get over here. Okay? Enough.
What kind of dog? What kind of dog?
I got two little Yorkies. They're brothers. I named them Rocky and Apollo. I'm a Rocky and Apollo fan. This is a big, chunky one right here. What are you doing, buddy? You barking too much. And now the other one's running because he's jealous, and he doesn't like when I give him attention and not him. Well, what do you want? You want to be picked up? All right. You sit and don't bark. Good. Okay. That's not going to work, but we'll try.
Hey, we don't mind. Thank you so much, man, for being willing to come on with us.
Absolutely. No problem, man. I love talking hockey and whatever else.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I guess I should start with saying that Jay McKee, who formerly kind of put us together, but says hello, and he also says that this is straight out of his mouth. If he had put as much time into poker as he did hockey, he'd probably be better than you.
Yep. You know what? And I'll tell you what. If I would have put a little more time, well, this isn't saying much. I would have been a better player than him in the NHL, right? That's like what? No, actually, I don't have the body for it. 5'9" and 160 wasn't going to cut it.
So
did you play?
Listen, I grew up in Toronto, so everybody plays.
Okay.
But we didn't play ice hockey. We played street hockey every day after school.
Okay.
You get the tennis ball. I had a stick that was so ridiculous. I mean, it was a curve like just all the way around, So I could lift the puck up. I could do the Michigan before the Michigan was a thing.
Was that the ball hockey stick where you put the white plastic ball hockey blade on the end of a shaft? Or were you using like a real stick?
No, we used plastic because that bends. It's street hockey too. You don't want to mess up a real stick or something like that. But yeah, we used to play that right in front of the house every day. Game on, game off, moving the nets, the whole deal.
And I don't understand, like here in the States, we both live in Buffalo. I have young kids that are, outside all the time, and there is no road hockey. There's no road hockey being played here in Buffalo. And maybe it's just my area, but when I grew up, like you, came home from school, you dropped your bag and you went and got your stick and you ran over to your buddy's place. And then you played for hours. That's just what we did.
Yeah, we did it right in front of my house. So that was convenient. So basically we played until dark, until my mom would yell and scream and say dinner's on the table. But you're exactly school's out at 3:30, first thing, get the game going and play till dark. And, that's what we did every day. And then we'd watch the Leafs lose after that.
Yeah. So that was probably your era, right? When they struggled. So you were a Leaf fan growing up.
I grew up in Toronto, right? Born and raised. So, Rick Vive, Wendell Clark, Gary Lehman, the old school crowd. That's when I started to get into hockey as a child. And then, of course, I moved to Vegas. But even before then, I was disgusted with Here's the thing. When they traded Tuukka Rask many years ago for Andrew Raycroft, I was so tilted, I said, I'm done with you guys. Because I felt like Rask was going to be a real player.
So were you like the Matt Sundin era? Or is that before? Were you more Doug Gilmour?
Well, no, obviously, I was more Wendell Clark, Doug Gilmour, but also Matt Sundin. I didn't leave the team till they started signing, no offense, guys like Eric Lindros when they were 40 or something, that was the MO. All right, who can we get that's on their last legs that wants to come play here in Toronto? That's Toronto boy. Well, pretty much everybody. And that's kind of what, that was their team building process.
Toronto went through a tough patch there for a couple of years. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you were living in Vegas, when you first moved to Vegas, what year was that?
I started going in the late 90s, and then I made the official move the year 2000 or like 1999, I think it was. Yeah. But the end of 1999, 2000 is when I just said, okay, you know what? Instead of making the trips back and forth from Toronto, we're just going to stick here in Vegas and give it a go.
And how old were you?
I was about, what was I?
22, 23.
74. I was like 25. I was like 24 when I started, 23, 24 when I started going out. Officially moved when I was like 24, 25. Yeah.
Well, I read something about you where it said that you originally, like you used to almost be like a rounder in Toronto. Is that true? Like you would go around and you'd play in games there, and then you'd save up your money and you came to Vegas. But then did you have to go back? Like, cause things went wrong the first time?
Oh, the first many times. Yeah. So basically in Toronto, they used to have these things called like charity casinos, where for 3 days at the Chimo Hotel or at a bowling alley or at a restaurant, it would move to different places. They'd have like blackjack and poker. So I started out in Toronto playing noon to 8, traveling like the little circuit there, wherever the poker games were. And then, as I turned 21, 22, I was like, all right, I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to take them down, right? That's not how it worked out. No. First trip to Vegas, I brought $3,000, played poker. 24 hours later, I didn't have $3,000 anymore, right? So I'm sitting on the rail like a chooch, just watching, all the guys play. But it was good. I had to learn my lessons, like young rookie who thought I knew everything needed to get pushed around a little bit before I figured it out.
So
when did you know? Like, when did you know? Obviously, playing poker was a passion. You must have played in your teens. And then, as you got a little bit older, you got a little bit better and started to get a little bit more cocky in your game. When did you actually know that you're like, hey, I think I can make this like my job?
It sort of happened before it happened, right? I remember literally waking up, and I was still at home in my parents' house at the time, and I was like 22, didn't finish high school, wasn't going to college, and I just woke up and realized, I'm like, I guess this is what I do for a living. I was making probably $40-50 and $44 an hour playing poker, right? 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week kind of thing. So it was enough, but I obviously had bigger dreams. So that's when I knew that that's what it was going to be. I didn't know I could really compete at the highest levels until my very first World Series poker event in 1998. I just came off of 3 wins in 3 different spots, but they're like minor leagues, like $100 buy-in, $300 buy-in. So I played my very first World Series poker event, 180 players, and I had the table of death, like all the superstars at my first table. But my moves were working, my lefts were connecting, my rights were, and I ended up winning the whole damn thing. So I went from like a $3,000 bankroll to $170,000 overnight. And I was like, all right, that didn't money. Well, we lost all that. But, that goes without saying, first time a kid gets $170,000, that's not going to last very long. Right. So we blew that. But it's when I knew that I could compete, with the top sharks.
What's the skill? I mean, not what's the skill, but how does somebody become so talented at poker? I mean, I've watched videos on you. I've obviously seen you play. I'm not a very good poker player myself. I used to get smoked at the team table all the time. But like, what is it? Like, how do you learn how to play poker? How do you learn how to read people? How do you learn to understand or know, what other people have and understanding those odds? Like,
Andrew, let me stop you there. Daniel, I'll take this for you.
Okay.
He's the poker kid. Do you not understand what we're dealing with here right now? The guy's a genius.
Well, but hold on. It's a
Go
good
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
It's a fair question because
Thank you.
It is a fair question because here's the thing. You could say this about pretty much anything. You guys made it to the NHL, right? How? You played a lot. You practiced. You learned things. You started to work on your shot. You started to learn more and more each time. And I'm a big believer in this. And this is, I don't know if this is a quote, but it's my quote. And I believe that you're going to make mistakes, right? Learning nothing from those mistakes is the mistake, right? So what I would do is I'd play sessions and I would learn and I would write down key hands. And I'd be like, all right, what did I do here? What could I have done? What if I would have done this? Maybe talk to a small group of friends and things like that. And that's how I'd learn the fundamental part, right? The people reading stuff, I think we all have that innately. And it's about enhancing that and just starting to go with it. You ever met anyone, you just met them and they're like 5 seconds in, they haven't even said anything. You're like, I don't like this guy, right? Where does that come from? That comes from somewhere. It comes from subconscious thing that you're noticing about him. Maybe the way he shrugged, the way he scoffed, something you can't even consciously say. I'm like, why do I hate this guy?
That's how I felt when I met Craig.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Likewise.
So we all have that ability. It's about just harnessing it and learning how to read people. I also talk a lot at the table, so I get information.
Yes, you do.
I always like to ask them what they do for a living, all these kind of things. And the more you know about somebody, the more you'll understand how their psyche works, right? You ask a guy what he does and he says, I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I'm like, all right, this guy's probably a little shady, likes to bend the truth, probably wants to bluff a lot, right? This other lady, oh, I do mission work and I'm a Sunday school teacher and I try to make the world a better place. All right, I'm not calling any bets from her because she's not bluffing. She might think, bluffing is like immoral, right? So you get a sense of who people are based on more information.
So when you go to a big tournament and, for in the National Hockey League, we go play a game that night. Okay. The next day you show up to the rink, you sit in the theater room and they're going over, shifts that we had the night before, breakouts, breakdowns, goals against, all those things to try and make us a better team, learn from your mistakes. So when you played the game of poker and you are finished a tournament, do you go back? Is it part of your job description to go back and rewatch what you saw at the table, the tendencies, how you spoke? Now you're getting to see what the players have.
So like watching game tape, so to speak?
Watching game tape, yeah.
Well, it's funny you guys mentioned that because I literally just finished a session of watching game film. So there's a new company called Poker Go, which you can get a subscription. It's like $10 a month, and it has all the archives and all the poker content of the guys I'm playing with. Reason being, tomorrow I'm playing in the Poker Go Cup, which is a series that I won last year, and I want to defend my title. So what I do is I take notes on all the opponents, like mental notes, but I also keep them handy in my phone so that I have access to them. And with several things I'm looking for. I'm looking for physical tells, right? All right, this guy bet and his arm completely extended. When he did that, he was bluffing 7 out of 10 times, right? Mark that down as stats. The cool thing we have available to us now that I didn't when we started is all this game film. And there's more on me than probably anybody, which forces me to do things a little differently, right? So like a goalie, like Robin Lehner, for example, in Vegas. He studies, his opponents like every game, right? Before the game starts. He studies what their tendencies, what they like to do, right? So if you know that and you're the other guys, you go, all right, I got to try something different with Robin because he knows my stuff. He knows what I'm looking to do. So for me, I'm looking to see ways that I can exploit, right? I'm always looking to see ways that I can see, okay, well, this guy, he's way too aggressive in these spots. So what I'm going to do is this, right? So I'm always watching the game film, also watching my own hands and seeing what people are doing against me is really, really important, I think.
What are some of the things that are do's and don'ts at a poker table, like during a tournament, like what in terms of rules?
Well, I mean, listen, it depends on who you are, right? And what you're there for, right? If you're there just to have fun and just enjoy it, there's no rules, just do you, right? But if you want to win, you have to be willing to sort of, for lack of a better term, you got to be willing to die in order to succeed. If you're there just to have a good time, maybe you play a little tight early, you don't want to go broke, you don't want to get knocked out early because you want to hang out, right? That's not how a pro thinks. A pro doesn't care when they get knocked out. The goal is to win. The goal is to make the money and to win. So you make the moves that make sense to do that, even though it increases your risk, right? So as far as again, for the casual player, don't give away too much information, okay? So if you sit at a table and there's pros or whatever, don't show your cards unless they call, right? That's free information. Why would you ever do that, right? Now, I do it because I'm at an advanced level. So I know that I'm planting a seed in your brain to screw with you. But if you're kind of an amateur and you're just sitting down, don't let them know what you're up to. Just keep your cards to your vest, close to the vest and don't give away anything.
So when those cards are being turned, are you able to process like the percentages right there on the spot?
So here's the thing. It's way more complicated than just that, right? When I started, it was just about percentages, like you said, okay. So, I have a flush draw, I'm 32%, blah, 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 right? Now, because of the advancement in solvers, these things called artificial intelligence solvers that have basically solved the game to a certain degree, the game's gotten so much more advanced because all these young kids today, they're studying with computers and they're studying with these solvers. So now you're doing mathematical calculations that are so much more difficult than that, okay? It's not even that simple as just the percentage for me to win is 32%. You're thinking about really advanced. I don't even want to bore you with it because it's so nerdy, but you're thinking about your range versus your opponents. You're thinking about board texture. You're thinking about bet sizing. You're thinking about board range advantage, all these different things now. And in some cases, in the high rollers, we're playing on a shot clock. So you got 30 seconds to do all this stuff, right? To do the mathematical calculation. But once you get the hang of it, It becomes
So
easier.
so you said you didn't graduate high school. You didn't go to college. What were you like in school? Educationally.
I was very good. I crushed in school, but I started playing pool, in the pool halls in like the 9th grade or whatever. And I stopped going. I remember grade 10 math. Like I aced it. I aced grade 10 math. I got like, never got less than a 90 on any test that we did, but I flunked because I wasn't in class often enough. So what I would do was like, oh, we have a test on Friday. I'd ask somebody, what chapter are we doing? Okay. Give me like 15 minutes. I'd, read the chapter. I'd show up for the test and I'd ace the tests. But because I didn't go to class, they said, well, you have to do it over again. By the 3rd time I did grade 10 math, right? I'm showing like the teacher's doing this thing. I'm like, bro, you're doing this way wrong. Okay. Let me show you an easier way because you suck at this. Right?
I think I did grade 10 math 3 times as well. Only I'm not worth 50 million. Hey, what do you think your teachers would say about you and the success you've had? Have you been able to ever bump into them or talk to them at all? I mean, I always wonder, when famous, successful people, evolve in their life and become famous and successful. And, a lot of times I know a lot of successful people that didn't finish high school or weren't good in school or whatever reason. And it's just not their thing. But have you ever crossed paths with, teachers or whatever that was like, holy, I'm shocked that you are so successful at what you're doing?
Yeah, like my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Howe. I love this guy. He was my favorite teacher. But I remember one time, because we were bad. Me and my friends were bad. And, he would scold us and tell us we're going to be garbage men or something like that if we're lucky, right? Funny, because one of the 3 of us did become a garbage man, right? They make good money, not disrespected garbage men, But I went a different path. And, you sort of touched on it a little bit. Like, I don't recommend people just quit school or whatever. But as you said, there are certain people that have a passion for something. And they love it so much and they're good at it that, they're absorbed by it and they'll they might have success in that. And I knew early on as a teenager that, the 9 to 5 was never going to be me, right? It was always going to be something entrepreneurial, something like that. And, as it turned out, not finishing high school didn't hold me back at all in any way, right? Because obviously the career I chose, I went to the school of hard knocks, Vegas, poker grinders and thieves and shit like that.
So you move away and you're living in Vegas. So what happens when you sit down with, who's the first big superstar that you sat down with?
Well, like I said, in that World Series of Poker event, it was like Johnny Chan back in the day.
Yeah.
My name, Men the Master, Eric Seidel, guy named Dan Harrington, but at the time, these guys were all and like I said, these guys were all at my starting table, right? Umberto Brenes, all these big names that I would watch, because they had ESPN footage way back then. It was a little different, but guys that I'd seen on, on TV and stuff like that. All right, this guy wants up. Say hi to the people. But yeah, I remember the first move I made against Johnny Chan worked where I had a 6-7 and the flop was Queen 9-8, check, and the turn was a 9 and I have nothing. I have 7 high. When I check raised him and he folded and I was like, ooh. I just like the movie Rounders. I got Johnny freaking Chan to lay down and I got away with it. And when I did that, it sort of alleviated a fear of oh my God, what if they can read my soul and all that stuff? And sort of learning that that's not really a thing.
So is that where that movie line came from? He said, so did you have it? And you said, sorry, John, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's funny. It was right. It was the same year. It was the same year that the movie came out in 1998. Because that year, Matt Damon and Edward Norton came to play the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Matt Damon went broke to Doyle Brunson with a pair of kings against Doyle Brunson's aces. I remember it. Yeah.
And that's no shame right there. That's no shame at all. Did you toss your cards over with Mr. Chan? Did you give him the old?
No. See, what did I tell you before? You don't give.
Yeah, but listen. I mean, this is the first time you just bluffed. Literally the biggest player you've ever played. Now it's for you to go. I've got you.
I own you, John.
But here's the thing: if I was going to play that psychological game, right, which I would against a lot of people, I'm doing it for a reason. But I planned on bluffing more, so I don't want to show them that's what I'm doing, right? If I planned on not bluffing, I'll show all my bluffs. And that way people still have it in their brain, oh, this guy, he's full of shit. He's always bluffing all the time. And then, you revert back. It's a little bit of a cat and mouse game.
So you're living out in Vegas and the NHL decides to come. We'll shift and because we know you're a hockey fan. And, it it must be painful for you sometimes to just always be asked about poker and always have to talk about, what you do for a living. I mean, I can't imagine. So we appreciate you, getting into that. But so you're living out in Vegas. So what was the first thing you thought when you heard that the NHL was bringing a team to Vegas?
Well, it's really funny because I remember seeing an article, I think, or I saw an article about it or something. And then ESPN reached out to me because I knew some guys, whatever. And they asked me for a couple quotes, right? And I said, I think it'd be great. Obviously I'd be excited about it. So then Bill Foley, the owner, reached out to me, right? And, he said he's really going to try make this thing a thing. So I became part of like a group of like 50 to 75 of us who were tasked with like proving to Bettman that we could sell tickets, right? So this is not a hockey town. There's no rinks. There's like 2 rinks, right? And we have to sell, like 10,000 seats to people where they're putting a down payment down for a team that doesn't even exist, that may not actually happen for we don't even know how long, which is a tough sell. A lot of people mocked us and said, oh, in Winnipeg, they sold out in 3 minutes. They already had a team locked up. And Winnipeg's a hockey town, right? We're trying to convince people who don't, it's a basketball, football, in Vegas, but nobody knew much about hockey. But we were able to do it. There was enough interest. We sold, the pieces, and I was like super excited. And I remember joking with the guys and saying like how cute it's going to be when they actually score a goal. Oh, look at that. They're down 6-0 and good for you. 6-1 you're down. Because everyone thought the team was going to be shit. There were articles written about this might be the worst team in the history of the game. Deadspin. This guy, poor guy, he probably ruined his career. Likely to be the worst team that has ever assembled, right? What do? They started winning at home. Everyone says, oh, it's the Vegas flu. These guys are coming, getting drunk, going to the strip joints, and they're not ready to play. So they
Which was true.
Right, of course. But they kept winning, and they were winning on the road too. And even when teams were like, we're preparing for them, So then they go, obviously, Cinderella story. They make it all the way to the finals. But like I was telling people, this won't happen. All my friends, because they're like, oh, no, we're good. I'm like, we're not good. We're not good. But you know what? We were good.
And the city, the city of Vegas right now, how have they, taken in the Golden Knights? Like, is it a hot ticket? Are they, what can you tell us? Like, I don't want to hear what, the statistics say that they're selling out their building. Like, how is the overall buzz on Vegas?
Yeah, the buzz is like no other place. I mean, Vegas knows how to do it glitzy glamour. And I'll tell you what, I think this team was like, they did such a great job. There was a shooting here. 68 people died out front of the Mandalay Bay. That was a week before our opening game, right? And the team did a great job of sort of like bringing out the players with a first responder that was there, right? And they were ushered out. And then Eric England delivered like this really great speech, right? Yeah. And then we won. You know what I mean? Like we won the game. And I think from that point on, there was an emotional connection to the team. I also think being the first professional sports team to town, plays a big role. Like San Jose wasn't a hockey town until they got a team, and now it became one. So all those things put together, the city fell in love with the team. Now, having said that, there's been cracks the last couple of years. It started with firing Gerard Gallant, beloved coach. The guy takes you to the finals, takes you to the playoffs. He's scheduled to coach the All-Star game because we had the best record at the time. We lose 4 games in a row. They give him the X.
I think they left him on the side of a curb in Florida with his bag.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Catch a cab.
Right? And then, they signed Robin Lehner, which people are going, well, what's happening here? And of course, Fleury was dismissed. And I think word got out through the media or whatever that the way in which these players were being dismissed was less than classy. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't handled well. When you replace Gallant with DeBoer, right, who was literally like our biggest rival, the San Jose Sharks. We had bloodbaths with them, in the previous seasons. Hated this guy. Him and Gallant got into words, calling each other clown and all that. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're replacing the guy we love with the enemy, and they started to develop a reputation of a lack of loyalty. Nate Schmidt, signs a long deal, gets shipped out of town. Alex Tuch, big deal, shipped out of town, different coaches. And of course, Fleury, who was told, he'd play here forever. And, obviously was traded to Chicago for literally nothing. Like we got him for a minor league player that we didn't even take. We said, no, you guys can keep him.
But you know what? Listen,
you got the $7 billion cap relief.
Yeah.
You did, and then you went and blew it on Evgeny Dadonov and Laurent Boisson. So now you're up against it because Jack Eichel's coming to town, and you got to go, holy shit, now we got to lose somebody. So this could be a problem.
So you're right into it, eh? Like, do you have season tickets?
I have 16 pairs of season tickets. I have like 4 that are 10 rows up. dead center. And then I got 12 more that I donate, to kids or different people who come to town and stuff like that, on the second level right there.
So when you walk around Vegas, are people asking you for pictures and autographs and stuff? I mean, like you're a pretty recognizable figure in that town.
Yeah, for sure. Depending like where you're at, what you're doing, if you're in a casino, stuff like that. And obviously if somebody stops you for a picture, other people notice and they think, oh yeah, it's good to do. But a lot of times people leave you alone. But for the most part, yeah, I get recognized when I'm out.
So
when you first came to Vegas, where did you live? And where do you live now? Obviously, I would imagine you live on the outskirts, of the downtown strip.
Yeah. So when I first came here, I stayed at a Budget Suites, like a little motel, basically, where all the strippers lived, right, and the drug dealers and whatever else. It was like not the best.
Smart guy.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, with success, I moved out to Summerlin, which is right. I'm like 5 minutes from the practice arena. Like these guys here have it good. You probably never played in as good a cool of a city as this, where you literally could you live in the beautiful, nice suburban area. Your practice rink is 5 minutes away. It's state of the art, everything. It's and then like on top of that, all the practices, not just the games, the practices are full of fans in the stands.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still, yeah.
So before we get to Jack Eichel and the excitement there and everything and what he's going to do to that franchise, you sent out a tweet yesterday, and perfect timing, actually, by the way. I'd like to say that it was because you were coming on here, but it was great. You quote tweeted a video of Alex Tuch, and you said, you may not know it yet, Buffalo Sabres fans, but this is your future captain and a great guy who will help right the ship. Why do you say that?
Well, first of all, obviously Alex Tuch was here and he was a part of the city. They called all the guys in the team called him the mayor because he knew everybody, made connections. But if you think about the way he was dedicated to like team, and in the video, he references Marc-Andre Fleury and sort of teaching him how to do that. But like when the team first started, he went to the rookie camp just to he didn't have to. He wasn't scheduled to. He wanted to. He wanted to mentor. He wanted to be a part of the thing. He's a well-spoken guy. I think he's an excellent player. He's a rare combination of size, speed, skill, thinks the game at a high level. But most importantly, he's a real team guy. He's a glue guy. Everybody likes him. And he's obviously a guy that's native to the area, growing up a Sabres fan kind of thing. So if he's going to go anywhere, Buffalo was the spot. And it feels like, obviously, you guys know, being in Buffalo, the Sabres have just lacked a real kind of any sort of positive identity for quite a long time. Even the things with Jack started to seem to falter with the surgery and all that kind of stuff. So Tuch can be part of that renaissance. And I couldn't imagine a better guy. He's just the type of guy, even here, we said eventually he was one of the younger guys in the team. He's a captain type player. And we thought maybe he would be, the first or second captain on the team before they shipped him up to Buffalo.
That's insane. I'm just sitting back here and I'm thinking, where the hell do you have, you're in all these poker tournaments, you're online poker, you're constantly doing videos. I mean, where do you find time to follow hockey? Your knowledge is phenomenal.
Dude, you have no idea. You have no idea. I spend most of my time. My wife even said she's never met anyone who's more into their fantasy than I am. I've been in the same league since 1996 with the same group of 20 guys. In our league, we scout them as young. I scouted a kid at 8 named Jace Howerlook, who ended up getting drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers, and I partied with him in Vegas a couple years ago here. He's obviously moved to Switzerland now. But it's just diehard. We have a full roster with 20-man farm team, a salary cap, full GM status, and it's my favorite thing in the world to do. So hockey's probably, my day-to-day. I spend a lot more time studying the game of hockey than I do poker at this point.
So what can you tell us? What can you tell us about Jack Eichel?
Have you met him yet? Have you met him yet?
I have not met him yet. No, but I'll tell you what. It's the funny thing is I remember watching Jack Eichel in overtime and thinking, holy shit, this is unfair. This is like a cheat code. This guy on 3-on-3 in overtime, right? I think he's going to fit in really well with the weaknesses on this Golden Knights team. The last couple seasons, what you notice is, all of a sudden in the playoffs, well, they run into a hot goalie. Did they? Or are they just taking 50 bad shots, right? All from the perimeter because they can't break through. Teams learn how to play against Vegas in the playoffs. You just collapse, right? Let them take all these perimeter shots, to hold down the house, and they don't have game breakers to fly through. A guy like Tuch, maybe on his own, Theodore to some degree. Jack Eichel's that kind of guy. who I think is going to help a really struggling power play too. Like it's come on of late, like in December, January, it came on. But overall, systematically, they didn't have the personnel to create like a power play that looks like Tampa Bay. How fun are they to watch on the power play, right? Just like you never know where the puck's going. With Vegas, you know exactly where it's going, right? They don't play hot potato. They go, okay, all right, to one point. All right, put it over to the other point. Okay, let's go to the wall. Let's go back to the point. Boring. Everybody knows what's happening, right? So I think Eichel is a guy who can create a new dynamic. I think it's going to make the team like insanely deep, depending what we lose though, right? Because to fit under the cap, we're going to have to either lose somebody or, Mark Stone's going to have to hurt his back, right before the season's over, right?
Now, all those players are healthy right now, aren't they? Pacioretty's back?
They just Pacioretty and Stone just came back. We're still missing Alec Martinez, who seems like he's on the mend. He should be back pretty soon, and Eichel. But this team this season has been more banged up than like any team in the league by a large margin, especially right? We played a game in Washington. I thought it was the best game of the season. We won 1-0 without Eichel, of course. No Pacioretty, no Stone, no Riley Smith, no Alec Martinez, no Whitecloud. Like there was a shell of the team, and then they grinded it out. So it just speaks to the depth, I think. And having Eichel, I think, just creates a new dynamic up the middle, which I think is helpful. Well, not helpful. It's important in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, so he's a stud. He's a stud. The Vegas fans are gonna be very pleased with watching this guy. He's one of the best players in the world.
Agreed.
And listen, I mean, it was tough for Buffalo to let him go, but we needed to be able to make steps.
They made out great too. They made out amazing.
Yes.
When you play Peyton Krebs fell in the draft to about 16th because what he did was he tore his Achilles heel, right? So he couldn't really walk. But at 18 years old, you heal like nothing, right? So a lot of teams were scared off. But this was like a top 10 talent for sure, right? And now he's going to get an opportunity to play. You see what Tuch's done. He's only been there like 10 games. He's got like 10, 11 points.
Yeah.
He's finally getting the opportunity. Here in Vegas, he was stuck behind, the top six that was set. And he was playing on the third line. When he was playing in the top six, he was leading us as well. So you guys made out like bandits, I think, too. I think it's a trade that makes sense for both teams, right? But I'm super excited to have Eichel because Tuch didn't feel that. Well, they tried him at center twice. They tried Tuch, and it didn't last throughout the game. He made it like a period and a half, and like, no, this experiment's not working. He's just a winger. That's who he is.
So when they traded for Jack, was anyone there in Vegas, media or whatever, saying why would they trade for a guy with a major neck issue?
No, there was nobody really worried about that. I mean, it's a gambling town. People are, more than happy.
This is true.
I mean, right? I think people were concerned about this. They're concerned about losing Tuch because people in this town loved him, right? And they saw it as like a never-ending stream of like, you literally took the most popular guys. Gallant, most popular coach. Nate Schmidt, the most dynamic, fun-loving guy. Everyone loved him. Tuch, everybody loves. Fleury, the face of the franchise. It's like, all right, whose jersey are you buying next? Because he's gone, right? So that's kind of what it felt like there. So I think a lot of people were nervous about it. And also wondering, like, so what are we doing this season then? Are we just giving up on the year? Like, what is the plan? But I think more than not, people were excited about it. No one seems to take, the neck thing seriously in terms of it being an issue. Like everyone expects Eichel to just show up, after this like long period off hockey and, be our number one center, which you guys know better than I, but like, it's going to take him a minute to just get up to game speed. And I think they'll ease him in, maybe starting him on the third line until, maybe he takes over that. I don't even know. They might leave the top six alone and just put him on the third line and use him top power play just to, make it more difficult to play against the team.
So have you gone to see, you say you have 16 seats. How many games do you think you hit a year there?
Well, before COVID, I was going to every game, right? But then obviously with the COVID thing, the protocols and this and that and whatever. And my wife, she doesn't want to get it or whatever. So we had to curb the games during that stretch. But, basically if I'm in town, I'm going to the game.
Like, have you seen McDavid play live and some of those guys? Yeah,
I've seen them all. Yeah. We're in the same division as the Oilers. So we've definitely seen that. It's been 5 years now.
What do the fans look like there? And I mean, when I say that is how many stars are sitting in the seats in that building? How many people would you recognize if you were just, a normal person from, going to a Vegas Golden Knights game? Like, would you be walking around that place noticing lots of stars?
No, so if you did, they're all in like right next to me in my section. Like they put us all in the same spot. John Taffer from Bar Rescue sits behind me, right? And then a guy named Ed Bernstein, who's a local guy here. He has a show. He's a lawyer, whatever. But not really. Like, I mean, you get Lil Wayne showing up sometimes. You get Wayne Newton. You get like randoms to come up and pull the horn. But like in terms of the arena's feel, it's like a nightclub. Like it's different. You go to Toronto or you're somewhere everyone's polite and quiet. In Vegas, everybody's dancing, everybody's drunk, everybody's having a good time. It's like an incredible energy. They started a trend too, which Nashville and other teams are starting to take on, is they have this like pregame show, with the big, the knight who comes out and he stabs the other one, and they do this big, like, they just like go over the top, which is great for kids, right? It's cheesy, but it's for kids, and they make it like a spectacle in every way, and it works. It's like still a hot ticket in town even after year 5.
So, I mean, we don't want to keep you too long. I mean, we're so grateful for your time. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. What do you do for, I guess, hockey players have a deadline. Some are different. I had 6 years. Craig had 16. What's a guy like Daniel Negreanu do in 20 years? Are you still playing poker?
So me personally, I'm a big believer in like longevity, and I've been one of the few. There's less than a handful. There's like maybe 2 guys. Well, 2 tops that were successful in the era of the golden era, like the early 2000s, and are still relevant at the highest levels today. I'm one of those people, and I pride myself on that, always evolving and always getting better. And like, I hope to be even better in 20 years than I am now. Like Doyle Brunson's kind of like, he's such a hero because the guy's 88, okay? And he's playing high stakes poker against these young whippersnappers who are using computers and all this kind of stuff. And he's holding his own. Sometimes he forgets what he has because he's 88, but the guy, like, that's something that I look to and think, all right, as long as I'm alive, as long as I can function and I don't have dementia, you'll see me at a poker table, probably at the World Series of Poker.
Are you the best player in the world?
I don't think so. No, I don't. And
why do you say that?
So here's
you were named best player of the decade.
Yeah, so I had the best results, for a long period of time. Here's the way I think about it. And I remember it was a boxer. I can't remember which boxer made a quote because he was asked, like, how do you stay motivated? You're the heavyweight champ. You have been for a long time. And he flat out said, he says, you know what? It's a little tougher to do those 3 a.m. runs in silk pajamas, right? So when you think about like Rocky 3, right? Rocky was already, the champ. He's taking pictures. He's doing autographs, all this kind of stuff. What's Clubber Lang doing? Grinding his ass off. And what happens? Clubber smacks him, right? So when you think about young, hungry 22-year-old kids, what are they doing? Spending 8, 10 hours, 12 hours every day playing, grinding, working on the game. It would be offensive for me to say that, in my leisure, watching hockey games, doing fantasy hockey, like that, I'm a better than all the best, right? So I feel like I'm among the best and I always want to stay there. But to say like you're the GOAT, that's a kind of an assertion that, first of all, it's difficult to prove anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Like there's just too many people who care about money so much. I don't. That, all they do is play. I play because I enjoy the tournaments and stuff like that. But I'm not looking to be the killer of all killers, making every, winning all the money in the cash games and things like that.
You're so modest. You must be Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, rivals. Hockey has rivals. Players have rivals. Teams have rivals. Who's your rivals? I mean, I don't. Do poker players shit talk each other? Like, I mean, there's one guy that I just think I would love to knock out on the poker tour, but I don't know if I want to mention his name because he might be.
I will.
What's his name?
On Phil Hellmuth. Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
Starts with a P. Phil Hellmuth. Yeah.
He's literally, I hate this man, but I love this man.
I don't hate him, but like, I get why people, so he's that kind of guy that you love him or you hate him type deal. At the table, he's a complete whiny, crybaby, jerk, boastful, narcissistic, like just completely wacko at the table. But away from the table, he's actually a really nice guy, like probably a lot nicer than I am away from the table. It's just at the table. He has these, the poker brat outbursts where he just starts calling people they, and they don't know what they're doing. And he's constantly talking shit. Right. But that's just who he is, and it's who he's always been, and you just like, I laugh when he does it. Like when he starts coming at me, I just start giggling and give it back to him, because it's all fun. And, it's one of those things in the heat of the moment. he'll say the word. It's kind of like, it reminds me like in hockey where two guys can beat the shit out of each other, right? And then go for beers after the game and talk about the lefts and rights they connected with, you know?
Yeah, it's incredible watching him because he's like a bully at the table. He wants to put everyone down like he's the greatest player to ever play. And he truly actually believes that, I think, from watching I watch way, way, way too much poker, to be honest with you. But when you get into it with him, it is amazing because as much as he wants to really put you down, he can't, because you're Daniel Negreanu. You're like on the same level or above what he is. And I have to give a shout out to Mike Matasau, the mouth, or what is it? The mouth?
The mouth is correct.
Oh my Lord. He is unbelievable.
You say that with a kind of a tone.
I mean, he's just exhausting. Like
unbelievable.
You can handle him for like 6 to 8 minutes. And, you know, when you edit down a show, like it can be funny, but like when it's 15 minutes of constant diarrhea coming out of his mouth, like he just does not shut up at any point. It doesn't matter who's talking, what conversations are happening, any thought you have in your mind, right, that you like filter, he just says everything. Like everything comes out. So I can take him in grain with, you know, like in small doses, but extended periods, he would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Best athlete poker player, not at a charity game. I'm talking like you're sitting down at either the series or, I mean, wherever, and you're playing against it. Who's the best pro athlete poker player?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, and I'm like, I can think hockey, right? And so like, I remember, you know, seeing at the World Series of Poker, like Travis Green, the coach of, the fired coach of the Vancouver Canucks, he was pretty solid. Like he seemed to like know what he was doing and things like that. My good buddy, Phil Kessel, you know, plays a lot, thinks he's really good, but I don't know that I agree completely. You know, he tries hard. He's like, nice guy, tries hard, loves the game. That's, that's sort of him at poker. But as far as like athletes, I'm trying to think if there's any basketball players. Oh, you know who was playing a ton? Richard Seymour got pretty good for, the NFL player, the Hall of Famer. Richard Seymour he was traveling the tour, playing some of the high rollers here and there. So I'd probably have to give Richard Seymour the nod.
What about who's celebrities?
Well, probably the best celebrity poker player who makes more money now, it's insane, than he does like making films and stuff. Tobey Maguire. I remember when he first started. Yeah, when he first started coming out. Like, have you seen the movie
Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's the original Spider-Man. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Molly's Game? If you haven't, it's about it's all based on true stories, and he's one of those characters in the movie. You know, they don't tell you which is which, but he's definitely in that. You know, he became like a killer. He just started playing in private games, you know, with a bunch of rich whales and people in the industry, and he does really, really well.
So what kind of toys do you have? Like cars? Like what are you into away from poker, away from hockey? Like what gets you excited?
Yeah, I'm not big on spending money on toys that I won't use, but it's funny because I'm looking right now at an arcade, a Golden Tee, and a NFL Blitz Showtime. The arcade is cool. Okay, basically it's an arcade machine. Let me see if I can tilt it over there real quick. So it's an arcade machine, and if you notice, there's a spout on the left because there's a keg of beer in it. Okay, so it's half keg of beer, half arcade. So I got that. These little fun toys for parties and stuff. And then I've got Drive Tesla. But probably the coolest things at this house is we built. A Southwest Greens came out and built, like, I have a bunker and a full green in my backyard with 6 holes, all different. And I bought a simulator, a full swing golf simulator up in my house, so I could play like Pebble Beach if I wanted to, up in the room there. So I like games and stuff. I'm not a big guy like, look at this $300,000 watch. I got a small penis. Look at me. Whoa, wow. It's like, this watch is $200, right? Apple Watch. I can text with this thing. I can tell the weather. Your stupid $300,000 goofy watch can't do shit. It barely tells time. And this thing tells time, my phone. That's all your stupid $300,000 watch does. Like, it's the weirdest status symbol to me ever. Like, people who spend a lot of money on watches. I don't get it. Maybe you guys have appreciation for watches, but I've never understood, other than maybe small penis syndrome. That's it.
That's great, because Craig's going to go sell his watch collection after this.
Hey, nothing. Nothing. That's terrible. I'm gonna go sell those watches.
Do you, do you ever get back to Canada? I mean, obviously through COVID, it's probably a little more difficult. But do you get back there? Are your parents still alive?
No, both my parents have passed. My mom in 2009, my dad in 96. But I would go back before COVID, as you said, every single year. I would show up late September because the 20 guys that I said in 1996 that I do the draft. Like I literally fly first class to Toronto to do the draft. It's my favorite day of the year. I get some Molson Dries, and I'm ready to go. We do our junior draft. We do our free agent draft. It's a blast. So I go there every year for that. And like I said, I spend more money getting there than I can win in our fantasy pool. It's like, it's not about the money.
I love it. That's awesome.
Some rapid fire Canada style. Okay. Favorite Canadian band?
Favorite Canadian band? Jesus. I can't remember who's Canadian. Justin Bieber's not a band, is he?
Oh, you know what? It's amazing you say that because, I went and threw my hair back because I'm like, because we're going to put this on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well, but I was going to wear this for you too. My Bieb Bits hat.
There you go.
And I'm like, he doesn't even have Tim Hortons down there. Favorite Canadian. So yeah, Bieber's. I guess Bieber would be a band.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
I thought for sure you'd say like Rush or Nickelback.
We went to the same high school as Rush.
What about Tragically Hip?
Yeah, I don't know. That's not really my genre. That kind of. No, that's not.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I got to throw this band out there because they're like easily my top two all time bands, and that Our Lady Peace. Did you ever get into them?
Couldn't name a single song.
God,
I've heard of the name Our Lady Peace, but I'm not a rock guy. I'm like a reggae, hip hop, rap. Like reggae number one. Like Bob Marley's my favorite. But I never got into heavy metal or rock or any hard stuff like that.
Favorite Canadian restaurant?
Favorite Canadian restaurant? I used to back in the day because they don't have it here. It's Swiss Chalet. Right?
Oh yeah,
that sauce
the quarter chicken dinner.
Yeah, I think that was it. Something like that back in the day. I mean, I've been a vegan since 2003, but when I lived in Canada, I would eat that stuff and I'd get the chicken and ribs and the French fries with the sauce were amazing.
You're a vegan.
I've been vegan since 2002, 2003, 20 years or so.
Huh. What got you into that?
Well, first and foremost, if we're being completely honest here, I used to have issues with being regular, if you will, So I thought, all right, let me see what happens if I, cut out, meat and stuff. And I noticed like a major transition. Like I don't get sick anymore. I don't have that issue anymore. I'm as regular as you can get. And I just felt like that, major health benefits. So I was like, all right, I'm going to stick with it. Then I got physically stronger, which is such an oxymoron. People think, oh, are you vegan? You get sick. No, I actually gained muscle on a vegan diet. I got stronger, got healthier, and it just became a no-brainer for me. Like, I met this guy who's like a, 10-time arm wrestling champion. He's from Russia. And he's like, meat make you weak, right? He's like this big mammoth dude, right? He's vegan as well. And like, I don't know, throughout the years, it just made a lot of sense to me. Like from a health conscious perspective. Just
who else is vegan is, you remember George Laroque?
Yep, of course.
Big tough guy.
I met George. We've had dinner in Montreal. Yeah. And
he has a vegan restaurant, I think, in Montreal.
He does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No shit. Huh.
Yeah, I think that, in the old days, people think vegan, you think scrawny little guy, and you're like, George Laroque is a vegan. The guy's massive, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's there was always this misconception that like, where do you get protein from? Food. Like, there's protein in all kinds of things, in plants and stuff. How do you think gorillas get so big? Like, you look at a silverback, what do you think he eats? He's just eating freaking greens. That's it.
Daniel Negreanu, this has been awesome. This has been a lot of fun, and I can't thank you enough for your willingness to come on and join us. But before I let you go, did you even get a chance? Have you ever seen Craig or I play? Do you remember? I won't be offended if you say no, but I don't know.
Rivet, I remember Craig very, very, very well. Yeah, I never had him on my team, on my fantasy team, though. He never quite made the cut for my team.
Well, I had him on my real team, and I'll tell you, I don't blame you for not putting him on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
Oh man,
you're the man. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully, Vegas doesn't let you down, and they can take you to the finals. You can enjoy another run.
I think you're going to see that. I mean, it's just going to be fun to see what the team looks like when Jack Eichel's on it. I can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Daniel. I'm a big fan of yours. Side note, huge fan of yours. I love poker. I love watching you. I sit every single night and just watch YouTube Daniel Negreanu stuff. So when Petey said that you were coming on, I thought he was joking. I thought he was like, this is
Craig plays in an annual poker game weekly.
The guys in my neighborhood are going to absolutely shit.
I get drunk texts from Craig after Scotch and bourbon. After he's like, "Oh, I lost everything tonight."
I cannot wait until I tell these guys. This has been a real treat for me. So thank you very much for doing this. It's been awesome.
All right, guys, appreciate it.
Yeah, same. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, guys.
All right, take care.
That's a wrap on another episode of After the Whistle. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, After the Whistle, and at Craig Rivet 52, at the Instigator 76. And you can find us, as you already know, on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and anywhere else where you can get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to spread the word.